The United States immigration system and border enforcement have been under scrutiny for their ethical implications, specifically concerning the treatment of immigrants and their families. Today, we'll explore the moral consequences of current policies and practices, while emphasizing the significance of legal immigration and promoting human flourishing for both immigrants and the host country. We'll critically examine the existing border enforcement methods, particularly the separation of immigrant families, and argue for the necessity of reform. By offering practical suggestions for a more humane immigration system, we'll highlight the potential benefits for immigrants, their families, and the communities.
One of the main concerns of the current border enforcement system is the separation of families. This policy has led to great emotional distress for all members of the family, especially children. Prolonged separation from their parents can have long-lasting psychological effects on young children, especially when they're placed in very stressful or unfamiliar environments. This separation also exposes them to potential physical harm from other people in their vicinity, as they're left without parents or siblings who would normally be able to be there to protect them.
Another problem with the current system is the CBP-1 app, which is used for asylum applications. This app has many issues, including its reliance on mobile phones, which discriminates against immigrants who cannot afford them or lack access to a stable internet connection. Additionally, the app allows immigrants to enter the United States in a reckless and uncontrolled manner, leading to potential overcrowding and chaos at border checkpoints.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here. Let me start with what I hope is a simple question. Do we need to have more or fewer people coming to our southern border?
Senator, we are working on diminishing the number of people whom we encounter at our southern border because of the challenge it presents. We're trying to build lawful, safe, and orderly pathways to accomplish that.
Okay, fewer. So we need to have fewer, which means we need to roll back incentives to come. So I would have thought that would have been the answer. Let's talk about what you're doing, though. In January of this year, you rolled out a new phone app called CBP-1, an app for a cell phone. I've got a picture of it behind me here. This phone app allows, and I'm going to quote from your own fact sheet, it allows, and I quote, non-citizens without appropriate documents for admission to schedule an appointment to come to the border. They can now go on their phone and schedule a time to come to the border and then be admitted. And you identified 7 separate border points of entry where they could come. 5 of them in Texas, 2 of them in California, 1 in Arizona. It's like a concierge service for illegal immigrants. My question is, you didn't think the border crisis was bad enough that now we're going to have an app that allows illegals to schedule their appointments and come and be admitted to this country?
Senator, you're mischaracterizing the use of the application. Let me explain it to you. We are currently enforcing the public health order of Title 42, and I know you're very familiar with it. There is a process for individuals who claim an exception to the Title 42 expulsion authority because of an acute medical condition.
Well, let's talk about this app.
If I may finish, an urgent humanitarian reason. So instead of them coming in between the ports of entry to claim that urgent medical condition, that extraordinarily acute humanitarian cause, we allow a limited number to arrive at our ports of entry and seek the emergency relief that they need.
Schedule, you allow them, let's be particular about what you do.
And I should say that the CBP-1 app was not unveiled for the first time on January 5th of this year.
Oh no, but you changed it. You made it available on January 5th to the illegals themselves. You don't have to be a lawyer to use it. You don't have to be a member of a non-governmental organization. Anybody can download the app and use it on their phone. And for the first time, you allowed them to schedule appointments. Now let's talk about what actually happens when they come to the border. It's interesting. You characterized this when you rolled it out as an application for applying for asylum. But nowhere on the app do you actually require the illegal migrants to apply for asylum or to claim asylum or anything about asylum. And in fact, when they then get to the border, you don't ask them questions, you don't do interviews, you just release them. Here's the Texas Monthly, not a notable conservative outlet, who reports, and I quote, "At no point does the app ask users, are you seeking asylum? Those arriving for the CBP-1 appointments are given no interviews, asked no questions about vulnerabilities that they may or may not have listed in the app or about why they're coming to the United States. They're simply released into the country," end quote. So rather than building a wall, Mr. Secretary, you have built Ticketmaster for illegal immigrants.
You are, Senator, you are conflating programs.
We need to consider alternative strategies that would allow for a more controlled and compassionate immigration process. This can include spacing out the admission of asylum seekers, removing artificial limitations like Title 42, and addressing the root causes of migration, such as poverty, inequality, and violence. By doing so, we can create a more equitable and humane immigration system that benefits everyone involved.
In order to help alleviate the stress on some of the border states, namely Texas and California, it would be beneficial to build a large-scale immigrant integration program with buildings across the country. Essentially, how this would work is once immigrants are approved for asylum, we give them the option to take a bus to travel to one of the many different facilities across the country. These facilities would help them integrate into the local communities, including finding work to support themselves and their families.
An underpopulation problem.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you
So
say
this
that?
is the most commonly misunderstood situation.
Yeah, they definitely push that we have a
Mhm.
overpopulation.
Yeah,
why is
No, I don't know. It's just like, I think it's like, this is a holdover from like, I don't know, the 70s or something, you know? So there was a huge baby boom, like where people did have a ton of kids after World War II. But then the U.S. has actually the birth rate in the U.S. has been below replacement rate since like 71 or 72.
In the
Like
U.S., but
50
how about-
years.
how about
50 years,
other
the U.S. has
countries,
been
though?
below replacement rate.
I know U.S., but how about other countries?
Well, like China's got a huge population collapse problem.
Really?
Yeah.
China, you actually get penalized if you have more than one
Oh.
kid.
No,
Are
see
you
it.
being serious?
No,
Oh,
no,
I
they
like
cut that off.
No, see, this is like, so part of it is just like we're operating on things that were true in the past, but are no longer true. So China did have a one-child policy, but like about 10 years ago, they changed it to a two-child policy. And then a few years ago, they changed it to a three-child policy, and birth rate kept plummeting the whole time. So they had the lowest birth rate ever last year.
Really?
Yeah, China's birth rate right now is 40% below replacement. What we face is population collapse.
Huh.
Collapse. Like people have no idea how fast the population is going to collapse.
What are we trending
Japan
at?
is pretty far along in that. Like Japan actually lost like 600,000, went down by 600,000 people last year.
What about the U.S.? We got to increase, right?
Yeah, what I'm saying is the U.S. has been below replacement rate for 50 years. The only
That's
reason
so
the
nuts.
population has increased
Like
is because-
yearly, you're
Since the
saying.
70s.
Yeah, since the early 70s, since like 71, 72.
So why are we spewed with all this BS that, we're overpopulating, but the population's growing, right?
No, it's not. So I mean, I should say the like lifespan is increasing.
Mhm.
People are living longer. That's the only reason why the population of Earth isn't plummeting, but it will plummet. So
What do you think happens in like the future then? What's your kind of thought on that?
well, I think we've got to turn this around. We've got to have at least replacement rate, if not more, on the baby front. And by the way, these are not matters that are subjective. You can just literally look at the birth rate.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's an objective number. Like how many babies were born. It's like they recorded this information. You know, so
So you're saying people need to be having more kids?
yeah. I mean, I'm sure you know a lot of people who have like no kids. Like how many kids do you guys have?
I don't
I got
know.
no kids.
I mean, that we know
None
of.
of you guys have.
Uh,
What?
I'm 28, but I mean,
I'm
But are
20.
you-
I
Okay,
guess I
20
could.
is reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've
No,
been thinking of
The United States population is decreasing at an alarming rate, which could have serious consequences for our economic and social future. To address this challenge, the United States needs to encourage more immigrants with passion, drive, and commitment to help improve the country.
In conclusion, the United States immigration system of border enforcement needs reform to value human dignity, compassion, and equity, as is our obligation as Catholics laid out in the pastoral letter, Strangers No Longer.
We need to address the root causes of migration, namely poverty and crime, and provide key services to migrants through a larger interconnected system of facilities dedicating to helping immigrants adapt to the United States.